Welcome to DIY Comics FAQ. I'm G.E. Gallas, and I'm here to answer all your questions about indie comics, graphic novels, webcomics, zines, self-publishing, storytelling, you name it. If you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe below. These videos are going to be low to no budget, so I can upload them quickly and without any headaches. So please don't expect anything too fancy. I wanted to take a moment to thank Chris Kane as well as Chris Kinsell of Zine Cuisine. Both have inspired me to start my own YouTube channel. Chris Kane does these really great game playthroughs. I have a weak spot for RPG Maker horror games, so I started watching his channel, and he's very amusing, and you know, I've been kind of following his journey for a while now. And Chris of Zine Cuisine, she has a pretty new channel, but I just love her enthusiasm, and she does all these wonderful reviews and field trips to different conventions and paper stores and things like that. So I'll include their information, both the Chris's, in the description below, so I hope you check them out too. I just wanted to take a second to introduce myself so you guys know kind of a little bit about me. I can go more into that in later videos. I've been writing and illustrating for as long as I can remember, you know, making characters and stories. Storytelling is something really important to me. Basically, I went to New York University Gallatin School of Individualized Study, where you can create your own major, and the short version, the short answer of what I majored in is cross-cultural storytelling. So I kind of examined the storytelling throughout different genres and mediums, you know, film, literature, graphic novels. And I'm very inspired by, for instance, Joseph Campbell, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, kind of this universal hero's quest, and that kind of influenced all of my graphic novels. I've self-published a number of books, so one of my books is The Poet and the Flea, about the poet-painter William Blake. So this is volume 1 that I kickstarted and self-published. I can show you more of this later. I'm sure I'll be talking about this a lot because this is kind of my baby. I'm still working on volumes 2 and 3. I'm also currently crowdfunding The Plague and Doctor Came, which is about a 17th century plague doctor. I'm funding this with Unbound, who's a London-based publisher. So unlike, you know, The Poet and the Flea, I'm not self-publishing this, but I do have, you know, I'm actively crowdfunding it. So it'd be really cool if you would check it out, and maybe support if you have a couple bucks to spare. So this is called DIY Comics FAQ, so I'm going to be answering your questions. I've already had a good number of questions via Twitter. So today's episode I'm going to be answering @MySinTonight from Twitter. They ask how to draw it, how to advertise it, and just how to do it. So talking about comics, webcomics, self-publishing, zines, whatever. This is a big question, so I'll try to do kind of a quick summary because I want to keep these videos somewhat short so that you guys don't have to sit here and watch, you know, hours upon hours in one video. So I guess let's start with how to draw it. Everyone has a different approach to this. Everyone has different goals for their drawings. You know, if you're doing indie comics, you have a much different goal than, say, someone who wants to eventually work for Marvel or DC or some big name like that. It's a totally different drawing style. For me personally, I've always been really interested in developing my own style, my own personal style, so that, you know, people, when they see my work, they'll automatically recognize it as mine. So, you know, it just depends on what your goal is, you know, to figure out how you want to draw your own comics. Something that is important to think about is, you know, going to school for art, or are you going to be self-taught? I am largely self-taught. I've only taken a couple art classes. If you want to go to school for art, that's great. I totally encourage you to do that. It's kind of difficult because if you want to go into comics or sequential art, there aren't that many specific programs that specialize in that right now. And so you might have to choose a program like a generic art program and then try to cater it to your own goals. I know, for instance, for me, Gallatin at NYU was a really interesting choice because you can pretty much major in whatever you want to major in. I had a friend who literally majored in villainy and then had a internship at DC Comics. So you could definitely, if you wanted to, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, you could definitely go to Gallatin and create your own major in graphic novels. Of course, this takes a lot of self-motivation. I mean, I guess if you're gonna go into comics one way or another, especially indie comics and webcomics, you're gonna need a lot of self-motivation anyway. So that's just something to think about. I know it costs a lot of money to go to school, so of course being self-taught is a perfectly legitimate option. If you're gonna teach yourself, I would just say, you know, it's practice makes perfect. It's like any other thing. If you're like a sports person, or if you're I used to play cello from when I was 4 years old through high school, so it's just like practicing every day. It's the same with cello as it is with drawing. You just have to keep practicing and learning. You know, another thing is like, so I've taken a few art classes here and there. For me, because I like to draw human characters, so this won't apply to someone who doesn't care about human characters. I mean, there are plenty of like aliens or animals or whatever. But if your goal is to draw human characters, you might want to consider taking a figure drawing class with a live model. There are plenty of opportunities. I'm sure if you type into Google figure drawing class, you can probably find something. I found this to be a really inspiring experience for me, and just really took my human characters to another level. I'd actually love to go back and do more figure drawing classes because I feel like I learned something important every time. And then just, I personally think that with comic books, yes, drawings are important, but they're not everything. I think that story is really important. So I would definitely worry more about story personally than about the art. Obviously, you want art that people want to look at, but at the same time, I would much rather read a comic book with like pretty bad art and a good story than a comic book with beautiful art and a bad story. So yeah, take what you will from that. I think that if you have an amazing story, then people will just fall in love with your art, hopefully. So I can talk about more about drawing it in future videos, so don't hesitate to ask me more specific questions and I will try to answer them. Going on to advertising, how to advertise. My first and best answer would be Twitter and Instagram. They're free, they're somewhat easy, you can make friends, you can join the art community, you can build a following. It's not easy to do Twitter and Instagram, but it takes a lot of patience. I've been building my Twitter following for a very long time now. So, you just have to use hashtags, you have to participate in art shares, you have to try to, comment on other people's art, and so they'll follow you. Mutual followers are really great. And you just have to make friends and honestly, just be nice to people, and you'll find that you're all of a sudden part of the art community online. My other suggestion to get into advertising is to try to go to your local comic book conventions and your local zine fests. This also depends on what your comic book style is. Personally, I have because my stuff is much more indie, it doesn't really fit in so well with like a big Comic-Con. If you're doing Marvel style stuff, then definitely check out your local Comic-Con. I tend to lean towards things like Zine Fest. I'm in Maryland, so DC Zine Fest is a big thing for me. It's a great place to meet people. It's a great place to get your work out there. You know, you can get a table for pretty inexpensive. Like if you're gonna do a Comic-Con, you're probably gonna pay a couple $100s on your table. But if you're at a Zine Fest, you know, I would be shocked if you paid more than $50, probably more like $15 to $30 for a table, something like that. Okay, and then just how to do it. That's what I'm going to be discussing over the course of all these videos. I'm trying to break everything down into bite-sized portions for you all, and I'm just, you know, I want to share what I know about comics, doing it myself, self-publishing and all of that. So, you know, the best thing you can do if you like my video is to just send me your questions and I will answer them. The more specific, the better, I think, but I'm also happy to answer your broad questions. I hope that you find these videos helpful, and, you know, just stay tuned because we're going to be answering a lot more of your questions. If you'd like your questions answered in future episodes, please comment below or tweet me at GEGallas, so GEGALLAS. Want to support this channel? Please subscribe. It's free. It just takes one easy click, and you'll be supporting me and my videos. And I look forward to answering more of your questions. That's all for now. See you next time.